Hi, welcome to this channel. I'm going to explain you how MVC works to create a web-based database-based project and model, view, and controller, or model controller review, how they call it, MVC. But as written model, view, controller. This diagram, I took it from Free Code Camp. It's a beautiful diagram, colorful. It explains how model contains our data logic. Actually, this model has C# class, which has all the data types, and validations, constraints, anything you want to put around that data. They're all here in this model class. Controller, which is called a brain here in this diagram, that actually control all those movements from the model to the view. It has methods. It is also actually a C# class with a number of methods. Every method has a specific job. Every method is corresponding to a specific view in our view folder. Our view, our view are actually user interfaces created in HTML, CSS, Razor, and JavaScript and jQuery, whatever you want to add to that user interface. So this is a beautiful diagram. I took this diagram from Free Code Camp, nice one, and I took this one from Mozilla website, which also explains well with some example. Like a model defines the data structure, like updates application to reflect edit item. Controller, which contains control logic. For example, receive update from the view when you change something, like you change the phone number of your client or address or payment card, and that is everything received by controller, and then controller notifies the model to update that specific field. What is a view? Defines the display, what people see, the end users see. For example, user clicks, add to cart, these buttons, views, drop down list, images, text. So all these things are defined here in this view. Now, one thing is that I see missing in these two diagrams, which are beautiful, that I created my own diagram like this. Yeah, the end user who interacts with the views, user interfaces. That's just created some rough diagram to illustrate what my point here is. Now, all the views that we have, they have a corresponding action result method in controller. Like if you create a default template in MVC, it comes up with three methods: index, about, and contact. For every single method that we have a corresponding view. Like for index, we have the home page. For about, we have the about page. Contact, we have the contact page. Make sure that when you're creating new pages, the method name should be exactly same as the view name. Otherwise, they're not going to be linked. The third part of this diagram is the model. So the classes which defines the data. Now sometimes you don't even need the database when you are just defining class here, like a car or product or employees. And from that, you create a list of employees or a list of products or a list of courses, and you just retrieve it here in the view. So that is not actually permanently stored in a database, so you don't need the database in that case. So only model and controller and views, that works perfectly fine because the classes define the data, what should be stored in a product table, in a product class or employee class or courses class. Okay, and then in the controller we add the instances for that specific class, and then we send them to the view. In the view we can see, like the way we did it in the console application, and as previously explained in another video. Now, in case if we want to permanently store our data, and that's actually our final goal, is we need a database, and that database should be connected to a model. Actually, the model classes, when I connect the database to my project, the entities that I created in my DBMS, that is actually reflected inside the classes. And from the classes, then I can communicate with the database through controller. And then from the controller, we retrieve them in our views, or if you want to update it, we update the data in our view, we pass them to the controller. From the controller, it goes through and check for any validation in the model, and then it is permanently stored in the database. So in my understanding, it's not just MVC model view controller. There are actually four parts of this. That's the user interface, the controller, the model, and the DBMS. Like in this case, that one example that I'm going to use is going to be SQL Server. So if I scroll down to my list of entities that I collected here, I have three entities for this project that I'm going to demonstrate now. One is student with these attributes: student ID, name, phone, email, DOB, gender, address, one, city, postcode, country. We got some courses here, course code, name, duration, fee, level. Like is it HND, degree level, master level, whatever the courses they are. Enrollment is another entity which got a primary key enrolled number, start date, end date, student ID, and course code. So here we're going to link the student and the course together to show who is enrolled when and when is the end date of the course and that specific uni or college. So I created the code as well for this, which I'm going to explain you now in a minute. Now to do all these, implement these entities, let's create a Visual Studio an MVC project. Let's go to Visual Studio. As Visual Studio loaded now, I'm going to look for the ASP.NET. So in this list, let me search for the .NET framework. Now in the .NET framework, we have this one, which is actually Visual Basic. I need this one, ASP.NET Web Application .NET Framework, where C# language is used. And I'm just developing for Windows only at the moment. So just double click on this, and it's going to store this somewhere in your C drive, anywhere you want to store it. You just click on these three dots, and you can choose a different location. So let's give it a name. Let's call it ABC project. So just a name. So ABC project, whatever you want to name it. Let's create this. Okay. Now we have these number of options, like I can create empty, and then I can create my own model, view, controller, and all the steps. Then I have web forms and I have MVC, a lot of them. But I'm going to go for this one, MVC, a project template for creating ASP.NET MVC application. Allows you to build application using the model view controller. Okay, so it has a template of 3 pages automatically created. And authentication at this stage, no, just leave it as it is. But once I explain you how the authentication works, how we can use Gmail, Facebook, Twitter authentication, or schools and all these, we can do this later. At the moment, just leave it no authentication. Leave this as it is. All the settings you can leave it for now as it is, and just click on create. This will create an MVC project template for us with one controller. It's called a home controller. That's the default controller. It should have 3 views, the one I explained in my diagram, like index, contact, and about. And they should have their corresponding methods in our controller. Right, my project is created. which is here. Right, now in this project, if you go to our app data folder is empty, the app start, I will explain all these in another video, what is the purpose of each of these folder. But let's go to where we're supposed to work on now. So controller, as you can see, home controller. This is that home controller is the name of the controller. But when we're making URL, well, the system makes URL for us. You will see only home, not controller. Controller is dropped from this. And as you can see, home controller is inheriting from controller. It has three methods: action result method, index, which returns a view, and about, which also returns a view and sending a message in view back to this view. That message will be printed there. And then we got another one, number third, contact. Again, it's sending a message to the view, and the view name must be contact. And as you can see, it also just returns an empty view. If you go to the views folder, based on the controller name home, controller home, we have a home view folder as well. And if you click on this index, it's already, as you can see, a template. So there are some divs, some bootstrap classes, yeah, and we got a H1, some paragraphs, and that message that we have should also be, that message is actually in the contact and about page. That message that is sent from the controller will be displayed here, and the title which is created here will be displayed here. So this add sign is a razor sign. Okay, razor allows us to run server-side scripting in views for us. So you will see in the coming exercises that we're going to create quite a lot of code and C# code within the views, and this razor will allow us to run that code here within this HTML and CSS user interfaces. So if I go back to, let me close this, we don't need this. So that is just to show you the three views. So we have index, we have about, and the last one we have is contact with some dummy information, address, a phone number, email. Okay, and if you run it, you're going to see these three pages created for us. You see, that's a home page, that one main div, and then another div. Within the div, we have three divs. That's div 1, 2, and 3, and that's our home page, about page, and contact page. So these three pages are created for us already. And if you go to back to the index page, this is our main div. There's a Jumbotron class is used here. Then we have another div row, and within row we have three divs, and those divs are here. This one, the one div, another div, another div. So that all we can change. You can change the view, the contents, and everything. But I will keep it as they are, just for some example purposes. So let me close this. So the project is created with controllers, with views. What we don't have is the model yet. So as I explained already, that we can create a class here, and from the class we can create controller, and from the controller we can create instances like for car, movies, products, employees, and then those we can display in these views. But today I'm going to show you how to do that. That model should be created from a database. So for that, I'm going to go to the app data, right click, add, should go to new item, or it says here SQL Server Database. Let's do it from the new item here, and I'm going to call it ABC DB, just the name, whatever you want to call it. So this will create me a database here in this project. Okay, so based on, as you see already, the database is created for us here. So I'm going to double click on this to open the database here for me in this Server Explorer. Inside the Server Explorer, if I click on the table, it does not show me any tables right now, but ABCD, well, ABCDB, actually ABCD database, that's already created for us. Now, if you go back to my Word file, there are three entities here. One is student, the other one is course, another one is enrollment. So I already created for this how to create them. I created the code for them, sorry, if you, as you can see. So the student ID, I'm going to make it int. Identity, so auto-generated. Not null, even if you don't use it, it's still not null because of the primary key. Anything that is a primary key cannot be null. The second attribute we have the name, varchar 50, because I would just want the full name, not last name and first name. Just want to have a quick project for some of the learners who asked me to create how MVC project works. We have phone with a varchar limit 15, email varchar max, address varchar 50. It's just like line 1, 1 High Street, Tower Hill, or whatever it is. City 30, postcode up to 10, DOB type date, and gender varchar 10. If you want one or some of these to be not null, you can do them here like not null. Phone number, we want every student to have a phone number, not null. We want everybody to have email, not null. Okay, so the others, they could be null. So let me copy this code. Okay, and let me go back to my project, and inside my project I'm going to right click and new query. I'm going to type my code here, see all the code that I already created, and click on this button, and it says completed successfully. So if I right click on my table folder and refresh, the table is created. Excellent. Now we have to go and create another one, which is the course. I did some work for this already to make sure to avoid redundancy, duplication, and normalization issues, which I will explain them in another video when I discuss specifically about databases. So here in this course table, I have course code, which is varchar 8, and we got name varchar 50, the name of the course. Duration, like how many months, 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. Fee, I created as a float, and level varchar, like I said, HND, degree, MBA, a master's. Now also in this case, I don't want any course without name and without duration, not null. Okay, and I can leave the fee and level as they are because sometimes could be short courses, does not really have to enter something. So let's go back to my project and copy this code here. Okay, and then I select this and execute it. Right, this code is also successfully created. So if I right click on my tables and refresh, I have two tables created. You see that? Courses, course, and student. Now the other important one is the enrollment, where these two will be related to each other. So in the enrollment, why is this called enrollment? So we got enrollment number int, identity, auto-generated, start date, date, okay, end date, date, student ID, that's coming from the student table, who is enrolled for a specific course, when and for how long, and then the course code for which course that learner is registered. Then we declare the foreign key. In this case, student ID is the foreign key, which references to the student table, and inside the student table is called the student ID as well. And course code is the foreign key in the course table, and the course table is also called the course code. So let me copy this code and I go back to my project and I paste this code here. Select the code that you want to execute. So you don't execute all of them, otherwise it will try to create those tables again and the system will give you error message because the system will not create duplicate tables. So let's execute that. Done. Right click, refresh. Okay, enrollment also created. Now these three tables created for us, and even they are inside here, inside my app data folder, but they are not actually linked with our project yet. How we can link them with our project is I have the tables created. Okay, the foreign keys are also declared, so they're automatically linked. I don't need to save this code. Let me close all these. I don't need them. I don't need them. It was just to show you how the built-in templates, pages, and views we have. Now I'm going to right click on my models. So I'm not creating a class, but I'm linking my database to this. So in this model, okay, in this model, I want to link the database. So the database tables classes will be created here. So I'm going to right click, add, and where is it? Yeah, just click on new item. ADO data net data model. Okay, choose that option, ADO.NET Entity Data Model, a project item for creating an ADO.NET Entity Data Model. It will help us to add our project and our database together. So click on the Add button. You will see this wizard. And here, the first option is correct. Entity Framework Designer from the database. That's what we are doing. Because our database is inside our app data folder in our project, it is automatically picked up. Okay, let me show you from my view how does it look like in our hard drive. So if I go to, just give me a second, let me show you how it looks like. If I go to my repos folder, inside my repos, okay, let me show you. What was the project name? ABC project. So if you go, this is my project solution, ABC project. Packages folder, a lot of folders here, which I will explain later. So the moment the folders that we are dealing with is app data. Look at this. It has MDF, master data file, and LDF, the log file. They're both created here. So our database project has the database inside. So our database is inside our project. So the moment we are dealing with these folder, app data folder, controllers, which we have only one controller, and we have models. We don't have anything in the model at the moment. In the views, we have home views, and we have shared view. Inside the shared, we have partial view called underscore layout, which is very important for us. We will come back to this in a few minutes. So that's our project files and folders. As you can see, the database is already inside my project folder. That's why I don't have to go to search for this from another drive. Otherwise, I have to go all these steps to look for the database file and connect it. So luckily, that's already done, connected. Just click next. This is very important. It's our key to the database, the connection string that's going to be stored in the webconfig file. So we will need this in every controller when we want to talk to our database. Click next, next. Now this is very important here. In this wizard window, you must select all the tables that you want to be included in this project. And also untick this pluralize or singularize. It just change your file name from course to courses, enrollment to enrollments. If you want that to be changed from your entity's name, that's fine. But I want to keep it my class name same as my entity's names. Okay, and then click finish. is trying to create those classes from the entities that we have created in a database. It may take half a minute or so. Okay, perfect. Now look at this. All these files in these references are created. They have created a lot, they did a lot of work for us in the background. Now if you go to the models, inside the models, you have model 1. And inside the model 1, it's even created the ER diagram for us. Based on our analysis that we did, look at this. So that's our student table, okay? And that's our enrollment table, and this is our courses table. So it create a nice diagram for us. So the courses and students, they are linked here in this enrollment table. So one course can have as many enrollment as possible, but every enrollment will be only for one specific course at one time. And that means one person cannot be enrolled at more than one courses at one time. And here, student, yeah, we could have no enrollment, or we can have at least one enrollment for every row in the enrollment table. And one student can enroll for more than one courses because that one person may do more than one courses in the future. So the relationship between student and enrollment is one to many, and the relationship between course and enrollment is also one to many. One-to-one relationship or one to many or many to many, many to one is good, but many to many you have to resolve it. So I will explain all these in a database tutorial. If I scroll down here, look at this. In the models folder, I have courses, course.cs. And if you look at this, the course code string name, yeah, string duration int, fee from float, it is converted to double, level is string from the varchar. This is our course table converted into a class. And if you go to enrollments, in enrollments, we have all the enrollment attributes: number, start date, end date, student ID, course code, and then reference to the other two entities because course ID and student ID are the foreign keys. So this is just a reference to the primary tables where these are the primary keys. Okay, and if you go to the other one, student, it has all the student properties like student ID, name, phone, email, address, city, postcode, DOB, gender, and enrollment. Yeah, because it has a link to the enrollment. Now, all these attributes, if you look at it, they are generated based on our entities we created in the database. So now our project is linked with the database. So the database has all these classes created. So if you go back to my diagram, so we have database, we created the model. Now what we need to create is for these courses, enrollment, and students, we need to create controllers, and that controller should have views, so where we can display those instances of those classes, where we can add something, we can edit something, or we can delete something. So these we need to work, these two are done, 3 and 4. We need to work on 2 and 1 now. That's what we're going to do now in the next part of this tutorial.